move instead off to the outside, try to open up the corner, and wow, great move from Oliveira. Can he get this one right back? Cavisto's not done, but he carries the speed well. Oh, nearly. Once again, banging doors. Inside for Piper. If he can keep it on the track, he doesn't. Oh, wheels spinning up the grass as Cavisto somehow doesn't get into the wall. 3 wide, down into Hobbs, and diving it deep. Olivier really wants that spot.
This was on my side monitor, and I watched him flash through here. This is insane. Look at it, offline, in the marbles, gets around Mr. Sneaky. I think we're going to have to change Mr. Sneaky from Takeshi Kita to Gunderson.
He's got a little bit of an overlap, and he's got the right-hand side. DJ seems to think that's the place to go. Will that be the case? He gains a little bit back, but now it's going to switch back in favor of David Burns. He carries it around the outside with a ton of speed, but he keeps it well, and he's got a nose ahead coming off the corner. Burns has better momentum. He has got it. David Burns will win here in Canada.
Watch how close this gets. Andrew Hardman, king of going up the inside, decides to go around the outside. Overprotected going into there. Hardman actually in the lead at this point. Waring comes back and says, nope, I'm not letting you have it. I'm taking one of the 10,000 lines going through 10 and gets back into the lead. This was a pass on the last lap that became an unpass as they went into that final corner. Good defense from Waring. Hardman trying to go around the outside, gets the power down, but just doesn't quite have enough to make it. But that was some amazing racing.
And Challoner is going to try it, and they're going to go 3 wide. That's his teammate, is it not? One of our Evolve drivers, but it looks like Challoner can't quite make the pass. Andrew Warren trying to come back through as he cuts underneath a savvy move from the number 5, and he's going to have that 3rd place.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
For being a tiny island on the Atlantic, England has had an immense effect on the world of racing. But amongst the more famous tracks on offer around the nation, there's plenty of club-style courses that give drivers and fans some incredible sights. Today, we'll visit a couple of those as we get ready to watch Round 8 of the PRL GT Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. First up tonight will be the MX-5s at Brands Hatch. A former home of the British Grand Prix, let's take a closer look at the place. Welcome to Brands Hatch. When popular British racing circuits get listed, this track just to the southeast of London often finds itself near the top. The extensive history of the venue has meant that many famous names in racing have ran laps here. But the stats make it sound deceptively simple, with the Grand Prix and Indy course having 9 and 6 turns respectively. Laps might be short, but they're also fast, and the corners are often a challenge to get right. As you'd expect, that means passing is quite difficult, with most drivers leaning towards sending one up the inside at Druids. You might occasionally see overtakes into the first corner, Patel bend, but the blind apex and gigantic drop in elevation make that an errand for only the brave. Many of the corner names pay tribute to famous British drivers from the past decades, such as Hill, Surtees, Sterling, and Clark. In fact, the fame extends beyond the drivers, but to the cars as well, with this place seeing everything from Formula One to Formula Ford, touring cars, GT cars, motorcycles, and even rallycross. It's a gorgeously scenic venue where lush trees envelop the back half of the course, while the front half is mostly encapsulated inside a natural amphitheater. This makes it extremely popular with race fans who can see a majority of the circuit from many seating positions. With a great location near a major metropolitan hub, a spectator-friendly layout, and an experience that challenges drivers, you can see why this place remains abuzz with racing to this day. Well, DJ, with how fitting these MX-5s feel around here, it's kind of hard to believe that they used to run F1 cars all the way up into the 80s around this place.
Yeah, it really and truly is, Joe. As this is a circuit that passing is very, very difficult on. There's not a whole lot of opportunity to get it done. And these MX-5s, with the little or no downforce that they have, it's going to make following a lot easier. So we're going to see a lot of close racing and a lot of gutsy overtaking moves. Look for the primary opportunities probably going down into Hawthorne or Paddock Hill Bend. We've also been able to see some good moves going down into Druids around there as well. But all in all, this is going to be a course where you're really driving against the track more than you're driving against the other drivers. It's very, very easy to make a mistake, and I think the driver who is least prone to those will be the one coming out on top.
Yeah, I concur on that one as we head on over to our sponsors, because our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
And finally, the PRL GT Series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
So as we head on over to the points now, Bradley Holly is your leader, but he had a bit of a bad round last time out, and that's going to hurt without the without his drop week available. He already had a did not start in round 2, so it's been sucked up, and now he's got to try and have good performances consistently throughout. Odise Adams Jr. with his third win now is within only 11 points with only 3 rounds to go, including today. From there on down, Gonzalez, Cervantes, Greenhoe, they're all pretty much still in the hunt, but from there on back, it's going to take something drastic for guys like Lindsay, Kings, Karakov to have some sort of attempt at the championship. It's starting to be a little too late in the season, and the distance is looking too great. Let's take a look at the team's championship, though.
Well, in the team's championship, it is a bit more spread out up on top, with hashtag not a team leading the way with 400 points, 104 above Oh God Right Turns. They pretty much have that championship already sewn up. Crikey No Breaks, about 50 points back from Oh God Right Turns. Road Warriors, though, have a good shot of closing in on them if they get a couple of good rounds here in the finals. From there back, though, it's a very, very close battle for 5th place, with the Hacks, Iceberg Racing, Unlimited Slip, and TTT Gaming all being within about 5 points of one another. 5-5 Motorsports about 45 points back, but they're in a battle locked for 9th with Sweet 16X.
As for today's race, it's as you typically expect here, 35 minutes, same way it's been all season. It's round 8, as I mentioned, so we're getting down to the end of it. It's an open setup series, and they do have some penalties. If you run off track or spin or hit other things, with 13 incident points, you'll get a drive through 17 disqualification. Right now, they're working on the bonus for pole, but they'll also get one for the fastest lap and 3 incidents or less. And Bradley Hawley has the provisional pole right now. If he does get it, it'll be his first of the season, shockingly. And usually he's pretty quick. But Odise Adams Jr., just like with the wins, has taken the brunt of those with 3 of them so far. But Odise is struggling here today. It looks like the 22 car is almost a full second off of Bradley Hawley right now. And instead, Giancarlo Lenzi is the one that's been very close both in the warm-up and here in this qualifying session. As off track goes Adams.
Yeah, just having a little bit of a problem getting everything hooked up here. And unfortunately for Odise, this isn't really a track like some of the other ones we've seen this season when you're able to work with your team to get the full benefit of the draft. As I said, there's not a lot of long straightaways around here at Brands Hatch, so you've really got to do this on your own, and it's almost preferable to be run it by yourself all the way around.
Tell you what, last week made a bit of a deal out of Ryan Kings having a good qualifying and then even managing a podium. Well, he's on the podium right now in qualifying. He's about 4/10 off Hawley, so it's looking like Lenzi and Hawley are honestly the 2 quickest currently, as he's trying to find an open space there. And this is a very tough pit exit. I'm glad we saw that, DJ. I made a note for myself because I've seen plenty of times where that pit exit can wreak a little bit of havoc if they have stops in the middle of the race.
Yeah, indeed, Joe. And we are going to have a stop in the middle of the race as these MX-5s are fuel limited. So drivers are going to have to be very careful on that pit exit. It really dumps you back out pretty much right on the racing line. Whoa, that's a little bit of an around for Austin Bartlett Chase. Manages to avoid the wall, but that is definitely going to discount his lap.
Indeed. And Michael, look at this. Well, you seem to theorize that it's better to be out there on your own, but it looks like Gonzalez, Coimbra, and Ryan Scott do not agree. Oh, and pulling off to the side, actually causing some problems for all 4 drivers. So all of their laps got ruined just right there. So I guess they proved your point for you.
Yeah, indeed. I thought there may be a little bit of something like that if you try to run a little bit too close to one another. Malcolm Foster, a little bit of a hapless victim there, coming up on that train as they went down into Hawthorne Bend. Again, one of these kind of second, third gear corners, not super heavy braking, not big down onto the binders. It's very, very difficult to get this right. And it really, really maximizes the talent on these drivers, because if you're able to carry speed through the corners, which is the way to be quick in these MX-5s. They're a momentum-based car. You're going to find yourself a lot of lap time, but if you're having to get onto the brakes a little bit too hard, that's really going to blunt your momentum.
I'm watching to see if anybody is still on a decent lap here coming up to the line, and pretty much everybody approaching was either compromised or not on a quick one. And we're pretty late in this qualifying session, so it's going to be harder to find those margins and these last little bits. Yeah, everybody is on a bit of a slow lap, so I wonder if maybe a bunch of drivers had popped in, got themselves fresh tires, and are back out to try and see if they could get a couple hot laps and get them up to temperature before this Q session is over. Right now on screen, you're watching Ian Cabana here, and the Crikey No Brakes number 774. He sits in 10th as he takes plenty of the exit coming out of Westfield.
Yeah, and you got to be a little bit careful at that. There is some runoff here that's sort of disguised, I like to say. It's that sort of half grass, half gravel runoff that you'll see is somebody. Oh, that's actually Giancarlo Lenzi having a little bit of an off. But you've got to be a little bit careful about it because the grass around here, if you dip a tire off into it, it will send you spinning, which is exactly what I think happened to GL right there.
Yeah, it's so easy to go that little bit wide into pit lane goes Mark Kalin unintentionally. So his qualifying might actually be done. He could get back out, but his tires won't really be warmed up in time, I doubt. Cabana not able to improve on that 39.80. Was about 4/10 off. This is Bradley Holly, who looks like he's not on a fast one from what I can tell. Let's watch the line just in case. And no, that is not going to be any better. He's actually only had 2 timed laps thus far, so when he's quick, he's quick. When he's not, he's a little bit off track, it looks like.
That's not exactly what you want to see. His consistency, I think, is going to be the name of the game out here. Here is Simon Doyle for the TTT Gaming team out there in 9th place. That's a very good result for Simon. He's going to be hoping to keep that 87 in that top 5 as a top 10, or top 10 rather. It will be a very, very good result for him.
Yep, coming up into Sterling here. Very banked corner. Again, kind of showing the old school nature of this track compared to modern days where it's not as often you see them put a positive camber into turns. And Doyle off of the final Clark's Bend, Clark's Curve, and to the start finish line. It's a long ways up to the timing line here for this track. And he does go quicker, 39.6. That'll jump him up 2 spots into 7th.
Very good time for him, and it looks like he was able to make up some of that in that middle sector, so good on him. Here is Ryan Kings again. We talked about earlier how he had been seeming to lack a little bit of qualifying pace, but he's made that up in the past 2 rounds, and he is always a fearsome competitor, very aggressive driver in the best possible way. He's going to be one to watch in this race, I think.
Yeah, and he may have had an off track in there. It looked a little close to the edge. Holly's coming around, and I don't think he is going to improve. 38.9, and that's going to put him more than a 10th away from Giancarlo Lenzi, who is out on track right now. And I don't think he's on a flyer, though. So that, yeah, it looks like he's about 10 seconds off pace. So I think he is effectively done for this qualifying session. You can see drivers getting across the line to start one last fast lap. Who is going to be the first to take the checkered flag? Looks like Cervantes is going to be able to start one, but I think Bergquist might not reach it in time.
I think that may be right. Yeah, Cervantes able to cross the line right now, keeping an eye on Bergquist. Here he is on your screen, only 10 seconds left. That start-finish line a little farther down than you think. This is going to be close, Joe.
And Cervantes did improve. He is up to 6 with that last lap, and I didn't quite catch to see if he had crossed in time, but Bergquist did go faster. He's up to 16th. Next across, I see Karakov coming to a halt. Giancarlo Lenzi, who we are pretty certain is not on lap. Looks like Holly parks it. So a lot of drivers not able to finish this out. I think Christian Lisiak is going to be our next one in the 91.
I think you're right on that. Oh, the 91 pulling off to the side, so he is not going to have it. Here's Mark Kalin, your next driver to be able to do it. A little bit of dab on the brakes, and that's going to be an off for him coming around down into Sterling, so that is going to be qualifying lap done for him.
Still, Adams Jr. not able to find anything as his teammate behind him, Coimbra, goes completely off track, and a second time as well through there. He's being followed by Ryan Kings, who looks slightly off the pace himself. So Adams Jr. in the 22 is only down in 11th. This is going to be a nightmare scenario for him since he's playing catch-up on Bradley Holly. This is not what he wants right now unless he can go faster. 39.3, that is much better. That's up to 3rd.
Oh, saved by the bell there for Oulton Adams Jr. He is going to pop himself onto the second row, so that will be hugely helpful for him. Waiting for the last couple of drivers to potentially come across, as I don't remember if Bergquist was able to get that on the flag. I think he was, so he still should be on a hot lap here, but he's not looking all that quick.
Let's watch just in case to see if this is going to be an improvement. Across the line, it is a 40.1. It counts, and it counted, not enough, apparently. It was 0.008 shy of Michael Chase, so he'll stay in 16th regardless. Well, that is our grid finished, so let's take a look at how they're going to be starting today, as Bradley Holly has got his first bonus point for pole this season. It'll be Giancarlo Lenzi who will be starting next to him here today, and Oulton Adams Jr. will be from the third position. Ryan Kings will start from fourth. You've got Kelly Greenhoe in fifth spot, and then Mark Kalin starts from sixth. Danny Cervantes late in the session, jumping up to seventh, as Jose Gonzalez is eighth. Simon Doyle, with 0 laps of practice, wound up ninth on qualifying, and Andrew Venaro was 10th.
Coming off to start in 11th, it's going to be Ian Cabana, followed by Paulo Coimbra, with Brett Carricoff and Ryan Scott behind them. Michael Chase will be to the inside of row 8, flanking Kevin Bergquist there. Malcolm Foster 17th, with Jimmy Richards 18th. Christian Liziak in 19th, and Austin Bartlett Chase will round out your top 20.
21st goes to Del Busto, last one to set a time. Larson and Hebert did not get a lap in, but I do not see Larson in the session, so Hebert is going to make it 22 out there. Real quick, let's give a look at some of our cameras. Mark Kalin is going to be joining us here, and coming hot off the race at Darlington. Let's see if he can go a little bit quicker, as Bradley Holly in his traditional garb is all ready to race here today. And then Kelly Greenhoe out there giving us a shot, along with finally Brett Carricoff, our fourth and last driver of the evening. I believe we only need Jose Gonzalez and Jason Larson. Now just Jason Larson. And we actually have about a minute left, so they're going to start without him, as the lights are up and the green flag is out off the line. Oh no, it looks like Adams Jr. does not go, and that actually puts him in the way of, I'm trying to figure out who that was. I think it was Ian Cabana, and he just falls way downwards. Oh, and we got an accident behind them. I see Liziak off, and it looks like Bartlett Chase.
Yeah, indeed, a big kerfuffle there at the start, Joe. Not the greatest way to see it, but up at the front, it continues to be Holly, Lenzi, and Kings starting to run away with it after that bad start from Oulton Adams Jr.
Well, this is great for Kings. He is back up into third. Oh, and a problem coming off of Graham Hill Bend for Mark Kalin. He's going to lose the spot to Greenhoe. Looks like Simon Doyle also will be able to sneak by before they get to Surtees, but the run up the hill is going to be the critical thing, and look at the good cutback from Kalin.
Yeah, and what happened there is Kalin just got a little bit sideways coming out of Graham Hill Bend and was able to catch the car, but that cost him the time. Here comes the move down the straightaway, though. Is there going to be a little bit of a poke to the inside for Kelly Greenhoe? No, he is going to think better of it and keep it together going through Hawthorne.
Yeah, you can see how quickly they've all gotten single file, except for Kalin, who takes a little bit of a peek on Greenhoe and then thinks twice about it into Westfield. They all go back to the racing line behind them. Not much action here on the back half of the course. It is very fast and very narrow.
Yes, it is. Oh, as that's more problems there for the hashtag not a team drivers. That's Paulo Coimbra down and around.
Oh, and something's happened to Holly. Holly is off out of Sterling. I'm not sure if he got the wall, but there is a lot of smoke. He's going to recover. He's in about 13th, might fall down to 15th here as he got a couple more cars flying up to his inside into Clark. Wow, Giancarlo Lenzi now suddenly sees open air in front of him.
Well, yes, indeed he does. We'll have to get a replay spooled up there to see exactly what happened to Holly, but Lenzi, the one who's able to do it. Little bit of side-by-side action there in the back between Gonzalez and Oulton Adams Jr., who has stabilized himself after that bad start in 8th.
Wow, a lot of excitement here at the beginning. I did go back and check, and it looks like that incident on the front stretch was started by Liziak, so when we get a chance, we'll want to look at him at the beginning of the race. We still got time to try and get to that because look at how close this fight is here. And in fact, Kalen has had no respite all race long. Well, the lap and a half that this race has lasted, because that's Cervantes right on his bumper.
Yes, indeed, it is very, very close here as they plunge down Pilgrim's Drop. Another little bit of look there for Kelly Greenhoe. I like that aggressiveness that he's trying to show here on Simon Doyle, who is up a whopping 6 positions, just trying to see if he can force a mistake there out of the 87.
Goes a little wide there, does Doyle, but he holds on to it well, so making up for his qualifying. Already past Greenhoe, who is up 1 position too. Oh, and Kalen is off. He's going to get it back onto the course, but he loses his spot to Danny Cervantes in the fellow Whataback car, but stops it before Gonzalez goes by.
And that's about the 3rd or 4th car that we've seen have problems going through Sheens there, Joe. It's a very fast right-hander, very easy to carry a little bit of excess speed on corner exit, and that's exactly what you're seeing happen. The car's just understeering off and catching the grass.
Well, I said that Lindsay would need something drastic for him to get into the championship hunt. This just might be it. He still has to try and work on Kings, who actually is, I think, 1 position behind in the points. So we'll want to keep him back there. Battle for 3rd behind them, though. That looks like Greenhoe managing to get by Doyle.
Yes, indeed. Just an aggressive move there going down through Patel Bend and up through Pilgrim's Rise. He's got that move on, and watch for Kelly Greenhoe to move himself forward a little bit. That car was definitely held up a bit by Doyle, and I think he's going to set his eyes on Ryan Kings.
Such a train here, but I'm not sure if we'll see many passes through this part, although I just saw Michael Chase try and stick his nose in on Venaro. This is on 10th position. Venaro went way wide coming up through Surtees, but he's going to have the inside into Hawthorne. I don't think this pass is on.
No, I don't think it is. Not a lot of drivers being gutsy here to try to get that pass into Hawthorne. As you said, it's going to probably fire off a little bit later in the race. Here comes a little bit of a move from the 57, though. Down to the inside, that's Karakov trying to get something on Chase. A little bit of door contact almost.
Chase getting very squirrely, dipping the wheels off into the dirt, and I was going to say too wide through Sheen does not usually work, so it looks like Chase will hold out on Karakov. If I think we might finally have an opportunity to take a look at the replay of the wreck at the start, and I also kind of want to see if we can figure out what happened to Adams Jr. Maybe an onboard for the start with him. Here's the accident, and you can see a little bit of contact with Adams Jr., it seemed, up at the front. But there is Lisiak, 1 car, then 2 cars, and unfortunately they lost control by this point.
Yeah, I'm not sure who that was. That may have been a bear that Lisiak made contact with on the outside, and unfortunately it looked like Austin Bartlett Chase, just a little bit of a sitting duck there. This is on board with Odis Adams Jr. Is that... That's bizarre.
Wonder if he didn't have the clutch in and had basically started revving the engine, because I know in some cars on iRacing, the car won't go if you don't have the clutch in when you start pressing the gas. So he's certainly paid the price in the meantime, as this is what happened with Coimbra as well. Ooh, and thankfully, good catch. Good catch. That could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, indeed it could have been. And then this is what happened here to Bradley Holly. Now coming down into the left-hander, just too much speed, cold tires, and spun it right around.
Wow, Giancarlo Lenzi had a real panic moment there, all over the back of the spinning Holly, but he kept it going. Gonzalez just had a bit of a moment in real time. Don't need to go to it. He falls down to 13th. I want to see this. This has got to be scary.
Yeah, there you can see just bringing too much speed in onto the binders. Whoo-wee, Giancarlo, very, very lucky and very heads up, Joe.
Great reactions. I mean, the car is so loaded in that corner. I would have thought he'd spin it out, but he must have just gotten off the throttle with the right amount of wheel cranked into it. That is Holly that you can see taking a spot right now over Venaro. So he's up into the top 10. That's 9th place he just grabbed.
Well, and he's going to have a little bit of a battle ahead of him, because that's Odis Adams Jr., who's also on that little bit of recovery drive side by side between Kalen and Cervantes, though, going down through Druids. And it looks like there that Kalen's going to be able to hold that out.
Indeed. Oh, and side by side, though, a little farther back on the shot. That's going to be Karakov past Chase. Those two have been back and forth quite a bit. And that's going to get 11th to the 57 car. But look, he's right up on top of him. Took a little bit of a look into Surtees, but that actually cost him time.
Yeah, it did, and that's what you've got to be careful about here, Joe. If you try to send those moves into areas that you have to force the move, it's just going to cost both you and the driver you're trying to pass time, and it's going to put you back into the clutches of the drivers behind you.
So we hop on board with the 57 now. This is Karakov continuing to try and see if he can take over a few more. Oh, look up in front of them, side by side into Sheen, and that's Kalen, who is going to rebuff Cervantes. Mark's been under threat here for quite some time. Great save, though, there from Karakov. Somehow keeps the car together, and it's not over yet as it's still looking squirrely down through Sterling.
Yeah, indeed. He's having to work this way and that to try to just make sure that car's okay. Everybody's starting to fire off here. Too wide in the back between Karakov and Chase. Chase trying to take advantage of that squirreliness.
Still side by side. And in fact, in front of them as well, Chase and Karakov battling. And it looks like Holly and Odis Adams Jr. going to get back single file. Another big look down to the inside. Chase takes the spot right back behind them. Gonzalez, Bergquist trying to see if they can get involved. A little bit too far back amongst them. And Chase will retain the spot that he just got.
Oh, and Cervantes getting a little bit too over-eager. He ran wide through Druids and setting up all of this. Oh, my goodness. Coming down here into this, that is Kalen Doyle. Everybody firing off.
Yeah, Adams Jr. to the inside and around the outside. Cabana way wide and just a little bit of banging doors and another hit and they spin off. Oh no, Cabana, and it looks like they've collected a third one. Cervantes and Bradley Holly. Oh wow.
Yeah, you could see there on the face of Bradley Holly, not happy at all. The 774 of Cabana, that car looks heavily damaged. I would not be surprised if he has got a mandatory pit stop to come get repairs on it. It is smoking there and does not look like it's handling well.
Yes, he does indeed have the meatball flag, so he is required to take repairs from here. Oh, wow. Wow, this has been a wild race. So you get what sometimes you get what you wish for. Not that I wish that some of these drivers would have a bad race, but this is going to close up the championship. Something fierce here today. And that was just a case of you race too hard, you race too close, DJ, and unfortunately you can't always predict what's going to happen with that contact.
Yeah, exactly, and I'm not sure exactly if the 774 caught a little bit of the grass there. Yeah, it came off the curb a little bit wonky. I think there may have been some netcode damage there as well, but really nowhere for Cervantes to go. He was a hapless passenger and all of that, and Bradley Holly getting collected as well. And as you said, Joe, that is just going to blow the championship wide open.
Adams Jr. is probably the best positioned right now in 6th place, especially if he can get some more spots. Cabana did make it into the pits, by the way, and is now taking his repairs. But Lenzi is going to gain a lot. I don't think, he can't actually get the lead because it's a 53-point gap. And that's more than you can earn even with a perfect score. And then King's behind him also going to be gaining a lot there in that 2nd place. As we watch here, Ryan King's on your screen. He's been hounded by Kelly Greenhoe back in that 3rd position. Just 2 tenths between them currently.
Yeah, and it looks like Giancarlo Lenzi's starting to pull a little bit of a lead here. He's got the gap up to 9/10 of a second, so being able to start to try to break the draft a little bit as it is, like we've mentioned before, draft not super important around here, but the more gap you can build, that is just going to help you. Kelly Greenhoe, though, losing out a little bit through the 2nd sector, but that's that fast-flowing sector. Watch for him to close back up here through Sector 1.
Back onto the main straights. With all the craziness, you'd expect to have some big movers, but honestly, the biggest mover we've had is Michael Chase. That's up 7 right now as we ride on board with Karakov here. Excuse me, with Greenhoe, rather, in the 12. Sitting in 3rd place currently. Under braking, they all look pretty even into the right-hander of Druids. Does look like Kings is drawing back on Lenzi just a little bit. He's going to have to push hard, though. Lenzi has been mighty fast these past couple races.
Yeah, he certainly has, and you are right, Joe, able to get that gap down just a little bit, but Lenzi able to extend it as they come up through Surtees right now, getting it back up to 9/10 of a second. Kelly Greenhoe with a great run coming through that corner.
It's going to be hard to make a pass into Hawthorne, though. This is one of the longer straights on the track, and yet it just doesn't offer enough with not much of braking into this swift uphill right-hander. And there you can see he wasn't nearly close enough, but he's keeping the pressure on. That's probably what he needs to do for now, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly. Just keep the pressure on. As I said, this is going to be a very, very demanding circuit for these drivers. We've already seen some of the best with Bradley Holly having that off earlier. And the more pressure here that Greenhoe can apply to Ryan Kings, the more likely it is that Ryan Kings is going to make a mistake. And that's all he needs to do.
If you're Kelly, I wonder if it's worth thinking about the pit strategy as well. It depends, though, partly, well, what do you know? There we go. I have been an unfortunate predictor in some ways, but it looks like I've had the magic touch when it comes to the 12 car as he pits in right as soon as I mention it.
Does indeed, and here that's going to get him. Hopefully he's going to be able to find himself in some clean air. I'm watching the times come around right now. There's a big gap behind Daniel Del Busto back to Austin Bartlett Chase. I've got to think that Kelly Greenhoe is going to hope to slot into that, and it looks like as he gets going, that's exactly where he's going to be.
Yep, gets it just right as long as he can get back out in time. Yep, he is well clear. So huge open track now for the number 12 machine. But that said, he's probably going to catch Del Busto in maybe about 5 or 6 laps. So he's got to hope that he'll pit pretty soon. Lenzi now has 0.6 of a second over only Kings and nobody else with them. It's 4 seconds back to Doyle. On top of things, we're finally getting a little bit more sunshine compared to what we witnessed earlier in the race. It's been a cool track all day out here at roughly 75 degrees Fahrenheit or so for much of it.
Yeah, and at this point in the race, that's not going to affect the drivers too much, but when they come out of the pits, watch for those tires to cool down just a little bit. Now, no tire changes will be taken in the course of this series, but the tires being stationary for those 15 or so seconds that they are in pit lane, they're going to cool down, and it's going to take a couple of corners to get them back up to temperature.
Well, look at Chase. He is feisty today. Oh, and that was very shallow down into Sterling. I was going to say that's not seeming like it's going to work. Venaro will hold him back, but Chase, as I said, our biggest mover, now up 8 positions as well. And there goes Venaro on in. So looks like he'll get freed up, but he's got Jose Gonzalez, who we saw have an off earlier. So he's probably out of position, probably going to be trying to make his own overtakes, and he's bringing along Bergquist with him.
Yeah, and the other driver coming down pit lane there was Odise Adams Jr., so he also opting for an alternate call in that 22 machine, but Bergquist definitely tailing along here. Thought he may have had a little bit of a look up into Druids, but nothing really able to get done quite yet.
So now we've got this train flowing down into the bowl as Chase leads Gonzalez, Bergquist, Karakov, and Ryan Scott. This goes down to 9th from what is now 5th place after a few drivers have taken pit stops. Into Pilgrim's Drop they fly. Ooh, very good run back there from Karakov, and he wants the inside, or does he? Nope, he's going to lift a little bit.
Yeah, I thought he was going to try to muscle his way on by, but he thought better of it. We ride on board with the TTT Racing driver right now as he tries to hustle around Kevin Bergquist here. Bergquist out of position, it has to be said. I would have expected him to qualify much better than he did, but a great run there through Westfield.
Just sizing up Gonzalez as we watched from the onboard of Karakov and through Sheen. Thankfully, everybody manages to keep the car together. Now they fly out of the left-hander, and it looks like our leader is pitting. Oh, is Lenzi responding to those who have already stopped, potentially?
I think he is, Joe, and this is a little bit interesting. We don't normally see these early of pit stops, but a lot of drivers coming in. Gonzalez, Karakov, Scott, a whole plethora coming down.
Yeah, this is the halfway mark, and surely these cars are not that thirsty around this place. In fact, there's a lot of lifting around the back half of the circuit that should help out. Greenhoe is coming down the front stretch as Lindsay's just coming out. Oh, he might actually get jumped here. This is a lot closer than it was before, and that was perfect timing for Lindsay. Another lap, and I think Greenhill would have managed to get around him.
I think you're right there, Joe. He's got that gap down to 0.6 of a second right now, and now I've got to be a little bit concerned if I'm Giancarlo Lenzi about Ryan Kings, who's able to run in clear air right now. He has got to try to match those times to the best of his abilities. We're not really going to know exactly what GL's best time was because the last lap did include that pit stop, but Kings definitely putting on some good ones here.
Yeah, very much out on his lonesome. Look at that. There's nobody around this number 43. And not even lap traffic. Odise Adams Jr. is the next one in front of him currently. Which, did Odise had some problems in the pits? Yes, he did. 56-second stop for the 22. Not sure what happened to him, unless he had a penalty to serve for incident limits. Meanwhile, as the orange and blue Earn Brew car comes through the back half of the course, Kings is going to respond to them as well. Kings is now in.
All right, everybody coming down as they do. And look at that gap that Greeno has been able to close down. He's been able to close down 3 or 4 tenths of a second before this lap is even done. Now, they're going to have a little bit of lap traffic in front of them. Not lap traffic. That is actually for position in Paulo Coimbra up ahead, but they are faster than Coimbra.
Doyle taking over the lead. Bergquist carries on. Foster carries on. Looks like Richards will keep going. And Kings is moving. But there go the leaders. And they are by. It did not work out for Kings in the end. He loses second place to Kelly Greenhill, who has the potential to maybe take the win away from Giancarlo Lenzi, who at this stage needs this to try and get himself into the championship hunt.
Yeah, indeed he does, but what Kelly Greenhill can do here is exactly what he was doing to Ryan Kings earlier in the race. Just keep applying pressure. That 0.5 tenths of a second gap right now, he's got to just try to work that as much as he can, see what he can do, and see if he can keep pushing.
And the problems in the pits for Odise Adams Jr. now means actually Greenhill along with Lindsay is in a good position. I forgot that on our point sheet, Greenhill's only 29 points back from Holly. So, wow, okay, could we potentially see Kelly leading the championship points after this if he gets by Giancarlo Lenzi? Of course, he is a good, let's see, it looks like maybe 20-some points that he is ahead of Lenzi right now. So, yeah, he should be ahead of him after, even if he does finish in second place. But that's just all the more motivation for the O2 to stay where he is.
Yeah, exactly. He is going to want to keep pushing here, and I've got to give credit to Greenhill that he is definitely trying to keep as much pressure. The problem here for Ryan Kings, though, is he just doesn't seem to be able to catch up. It looks like he's lost about 0.2 tenths of a second since he came out of pit lane, starting to fall a little bit behind your two leaders.
The car pitting, Malcolm Foster has taken his service. Doyle, Bergquist, and Richards, along with a Bear, the last ones that need to stop. We've lost Danny Cervantes, Austin Bartlett Chase, Bradley Holly, and Ian Cabana, unless Ian and Brad are able to repair their cars and get back out there.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough break. You can see a couple of those crippled MX-5s in pit lane right now as we keep our eyes there. Back to the lead. Now, that is Jimmy Richards up ahead of them. Again, this is for position, so Jimmy under no obligation to get out of the way here.
Now, you saw Chase there in the pits. That's the second time visiting. That's because he just had a black flag, I believe, for incident limits. The 34 been a little bit naughty with the track limits here today, and that's going to send him down to 14th. But yeah, you mentioned them approaching the cars who have not pitted yet. Richards, who is certainly not keeping the same pace that Lindsay is, has been caught in the absolute worst spot on the track. Where does Lindsay go here? Because Jimmy does not have to pull over. There's no blue flags.
No blue flags at all, and Richards is entitled to hold that line. And what this has done is this has now allowed for Kelly Greenhill to catch up right behind. GL actually going a little bit wide there. Is Kelly going to have a little bit of a look?
Does he cover off just a bit? and not a serious defense, but it wards off Greenhoe. Finally, in goes Richards. But now with the time lost to Kelly Greenhoe, Giancarlo Lindsay is going to have even more pressure. But he's starting to get used to this. He's had such incredible fights this season with the likes of Bradley Holly. So now he's got a new foe to go up against.
Yes, he does, and he's going to have to see what Kelly Greenhoe can do. The gap expanding out. It looks here, as I watch these laps go around, that Lindsay is a little bit better into the braking zone. He just seems to carry a little bit more speed into the corner. Greenhoe not able to get as nearly late on the brakes.
You can see the differences in lap times between them, and the pit stops were in the middle of that. That's why you have the huge jumps there around lap 10. What's another interesting one to add is that Greenhoe is the only one of these top three that hasn't won yet this season. So there's Greenhoe's motivation. Lindsay just simply wanting to try and make himself viable for the championship, wanting to hold as many spots as he can. And actually, I'll need to check to see who has the bonus for fastest lap at this stage. That might be a little tricky because we've had some faster drivers fall way down the order.
Unless I'm mistaken, Joe, it is Ryan Kings right now with a 39.13. I believe that is the fastest lap. Lindsay is about 0.04 of a second off of him.
I'm seeing Greenhoe with a 38.7, actually.
You know what? You're right.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so Greenhoe is at this stage going to grab that extra bonus point unless anybody can manage to go faster than him. So we watch coming out into Sterling there at the back part of the course. That's Karakov ahead of Bergquist, but we head to Greenhoe and Lindsay once more. Lindsay just dipping the wheels slightly into the dirt coming off of Paddock Hill Bend, and Greenhoe's not close enough to try and get aggressive into Druids.
No, he's not, but Lindsay's got to be careful with that. You start flirting with those outside track barriers, and that grass or that gravel will come up to bite you. He's able to hold it here at about 0.4 of a second, which is about what he's been able to do this entire time, but he has just got to be on his game in these final 10.5 minutes.
But there's no room for error at all. A bear finally pits in, the last of them with only 10 minutes to go. Everybody's now been in and out. For some reason, Venaro's been sitting in pit lane. He's had meatball flag, it looks like, so that's why he's sitting in there. And Abe Bear has a long one. I'm not sure what caused that. 22 seconds for him, and he's back out. So that's a bit strange.
Yeah, it is indeed. Ooh, Ryan King's going a little bit wide there. I get the sense that Kings is trying to push as hard as he can to catch up to these two, but that gap resolutely sticking at about 1.2, 1.3 seconds.
And we're seeing about 6 laps to go here for our drivers. So not too many left that Lindsay has to withstand this. But the question is, can he? Or will he crack? As Kelly Greenhoe hangs just in that slipstream, flying up the Brabham straight into the braking, curved braking here, coming down into Paddock Hill Bend, and both of them really on it, but coming off the corner, it looks like that Earned Brew car just kicking up dirt and dust every single time, going right out to the edge.
Yeah, and it does look here a little bit that like Kelly Greenhoe has been able to close down ever so slightly. The gap now down to about 2.5 seconds to be able to get it there. He's very, very close now as they work their way into Surtees. He's got it under 2/10.
Yeah, if he gets a good exit, he could try and do something through Hawthorne if he gets a slipstream, but look at that sun glinting off the rear bumper as it shines into the eyes of Kelly Greenhoe. Big defense from Giancarlo Lindsay, back to the racing line as he chops across. We watch the onboard cam with Kelly Greenhoe now through Westfield, and still trying to shake him off, seeing if he can distract him.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be Kelly's best attempt here. It's just keeping to try to poke that nose this way and that. Going so defensive there from GL down under Pilgrim's drop, I think showed that he is a little bit worried about the speed from the 12 from behind.
Certainly seems like it. And last few races, as I mentioned, Lindsay's been running very well and finally got himself a win in this series in round 5 back at Okayama on top of things. He's trying to make it number 2 here today. This is another potential opportunity here for Greenhoe, but no, he's not going to go for it this time out. 7 minutes left on the clock now. Down out of Paddock Hill Bend and then climbing once more into Druids, and now multiple corners. We're starting to see that 12 car just dive around, dart in the mirrors of the O2.
Yeah, and that's what I think is that is exactly what he's doing here, Joe. He's darting around in the mirrors. He's not really trying to go for a full overtake, just trying to see if he can distract GL going into the braking zones a little bit to see if there is an opportunity that will present itself by doing so. Good run again here coming through Surtees. Let's see if Lindsay stays defensive. He does. He's going to stick over to the right-hand side of the track.
Does he do anything in response? Yeah, I think he's solid now. He's confident in what the car behind can and cannot do. Look at them slide through these corners. Coimbra, don't need to go to it, had a bit of an off coming out of Sterling last lap. He didn't lose any positions, but lost some time, and he's still running in 12th. So as the drivers get out of Sheen and into Sterling once again. Also, Foster just lost a spot to Richards down the Cooper straight. I think that was maybe a bit of a mistake from the 11 that gave that one over.
Yeah, it was there. You can see it right there on your screen, those two drivers, and Richards being able to hold on to that 10th place under a little bit of an attack here from Malcolm Foster. Is he going to have a little bit of a look going into Westfield Bend? Doesn't look like it. He's going to follow in the same pattern. He's got to back off a little bit.
Yeah, we harped on that a lot in the pre-race. It's just so hard to pass here. There's just not a lot of heavy braking zones, even in these cars.
No, there really isn't, Joe. And I mean, it just goes to show you the talent of some of these drivers that have been able to move up through the field. Simon Doyle, in particular, up 5. Kevin Bergquist up 8. Jimmy Richards also up 8, using some good pit strategy and some good overtakes to get himself into that 10th place position.
All right, back onto the front stretch once again. But yeah, that looks a little bit far away for the Crikey car just behind him. And we're down to, I think, 4 laps to go, or it might actually only be 3 laps to go here. Here's Lindsay and Greenhoe. Man, Kings, after those pit stops, has been nowhere. A bit sad for fans of the 43 car, but he still could collect another valuable podium, as he did 3rd place last week as well.
Very well could. Yeah, his pace has just been falling off here pretty significantly, and it's been just kind of drips and drops over the course of the last couple of laps. 10ths here, 10ths there. Specifically, the last 2 laps, he's lost about 5 tenths per lap, so I think he's just kind of overcooked the car a little bit and not really able to keep up the pace and the consistency.
All right, now I'm able to get this one sorted out. It is 3 laps to go this time by for our drivers. And still that frighteningly close 0.2 of a second. Lindsay feeling Kelly Greenhoe just staring daggers into him. And he has got a good run coming off of Paddock Hill Bend, but it's once again not good enough. Tries to open up the corner. Lindsay, the opposite. He turned in kind of shallow. That hurts him slightly on the exit, but nothing that Kelly can do. In fact, he loses some time, finding himself with an awkward line down into Graham Hill Bend.
Well, and that's the biggest thing that Kelly's got to be careful of here, is that in these final 2.5 laps, he doesn't want to push it too hard and lose an opportunity that could present itself later. He's got to take a high percentage move here to really make this work.
Got a little bit of something forming down in 7th between Karakoff and Bergquist. You mentioned earlier, Bergquist has made up for a poor showing in his qualifying. He's up 8 spots right now, and I think he is our hard charger. Yes, he is. So nicely done from the 64, but it's a question of what could have been if he started here instead.
Yeah, exactly. And a bit surprising to see Berquist be that far down in the order. We normally see that 64 pretty comfortably in the top 5 or so. I was very surprised to see him off, but he's done a good job to pick his way through the field and not really let too much rattle him in a very chaotic race.
Sometimes that's really what you need, is those nerves of steel, especially around a track like this where you know there's going to be pressure from someone faster who wants to get on by. Oh, and there's a little look from Greenhoe that time, with 2 laps to go now between the pair of them. So maybe now Kelly's starting to think it's go time. I've got to take the risks. I've got to make the moves that might not mean a victory necessarily, but will certainly give me the chance to at least push for that victory.
Well, I mean, at this point, he's got a 5-second advantage over Kings in the back, so he might as well be able to try to go for a couple of more aggressive moves here, see what he can do, see if there's anything to be had by pushing like that.
Through Pilgrim's Drop and underneath the bridge into the braking of Hawthorne, now up to 0.4 of a second. Greenhoe, is he backing it up, or is Lindsay starting to turn it up?
I think it's a little of column A, little of column B there, Joe, going through Westfield right now. Good speed carried by both drivers. They come down here through this area called Dingle Dell. It's one of my favorite areas of a racetrack named ever.
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly sounds a little bit silly, but it can be scary. And the sun continuing to set as the drivers approach the white flag. Has Greenhoe been saving himself? Is this where he really... Oh no! Lindsay's short-fueled! Lindsay's into the pits!
Oh my goodness gracious, tragedy here for Giancarlo Lenzi as he's got to come down pit lane, and there you can see disbelief from his rival Kelly Greenhoe.
Wow, Greenhoe's going to be going from 5th on the grid to potentially a win. Kings gets promoted up to 2nd. Simon Doyle up 6 spots for a podium here in 3rd place. So Kelly Greenhoe, he may not have been fast enough to try to jump him in the pit stops, but he was fast enough to put enough fuel in and still get out there with time to go. Oh man, Lindsay is returning in 5th place, so he didn't lose as many spots as you would expect, but first compared to a 5th is gotta be frustrating.
And it is going to be absolutely gut-wrenching for Giancarlo Lenzi, and probably the nail in the coffin for his championship hopes, even with Bradley Holly having the day that he did today.
Yeah, I think so. I wonder if that was just a lap more than he anticipated and thought that that would have been done earlier. It wasn't super close compared to some we've seen, as they're just running out of time here on the back half of the course, so probably a good 30 to 40 seconds away from the timing line. And Greenhoe, with his 7.3 second lead, can relax, just hit his marks all the way to the finish and not have to worry about pushing too hard. Along he runs through towards Clark Curve, out of Clearways, and onto the Brabham Straight. It is going to be another different winner here in the PRL MX5 Cup Series, and a shout from Greenhoe in celebration.
Yeah, he knew he was on camera, and he absolutely loved it. He is the victor here today. Ryan King's a whopping 8 seconds behind. I wonder if he may be short-fueled, and that's what he's running into. Good little battle here, though, between Karakov and Berquist.
Berquist wants this spot. He's going to try to cut underneath. Oh, but it parked at the apex and almost shoves Karakov off. But Brett hangs tough, and that's not going to be the position for Kevin. Brett gets 7th. Kevin gets 8th. And something happened, I think, to Jimmy Richards in the meantime, as I saw him suddenly drop down the order. I'm not sure what was going on there. I think the remainder of our drivers are just trickling across the line. And yeah, looks like Holly is actually going to limp home in 17th. He did get back out. Adams Jr., 10th place. What happened today to him? And then finally, on the green flag lap, it looks like Michael Chase was 11th. Still a net gain, though. Probably not as much as he thought it would be. That's going to take us to our race results. And wow, was this a turnaround that we did not expect, as Kelly Greenhoe is your victor here today, taking his first win of the season. Ryan Kings wound up in second place as Simon Doyle was third from ninth. Then it was Mark Kalin finishing P4. Giancarlo Lenzi got back out on the track after that extra pit stop, and he was only good enough for fifth today. Jose Gonzalez, P6, was followed by Brett Carrickove, seventh, and Kevin Bergquist, eighth. Then we've got Paulo Coimbra, ninth, and Odis Adams Jr., 10th. I think somebody suffered a penalty there at the end for too many incidents.
I think they did as well, Joe, but Michael Chase was able to come home in 11th, followed by Malcolm Foster, Christian Liziak in 13th, David Hebert 14th, the last driver on the lead lap. Jimmy Richards 1 lap down in 15th, followed by Ryan Scott, and then Bradley Holly, Andrew Venero, Daniel Del Busto, and Austin Bartlett Chase all having some problems out here today.
Yeah, you see those last three, and it looks like we've got our winner ready to talk to us, the number 12 of Kelly Greenhoe, who hang tough and put enough fuel in critically. Kelly, were you aware of things being short for Giancarlo at any stage there? Were you caught off guard as much as we were?
I had no clue. I thought for some reason I maybe was just getting a little bit better of a run that time out of the last corner, and then I had to lift off. I mean, it probably wasn't that close in hindsight, but it felt like I was really close. Yeah, I had no idea.
Now, we saw you pull off for a pit stop considerably early compared to what strategy we usually see in PRL here. Did you know you had that gap in traffic back there?
I have a map up above me. It's kind of hard to gauge exactly where you're going to be unless you know who else is, going to stop or exactly how much like sector time and stuff there is. I'm not that familiar with that track. So I just tend to pit a little bit early. Got to quit saying that, giving away my strategy here. But I felt like I had the better pace than those two. I felt like I was losing time sitting behind them. So I got out of there and got some clean track.
And this was an entirely wild race in itself. Holly had a bad finish. Odis had a bad finish. Gonzalez wasn't hardly anywhere in this race. And where did Cervantes actually wind up? I think Cervantes wasn't all that great either. So suddenly you've gone from 29 points back coming into this race. So I'm pretty sure this is launching you into the fray.
Nice. I had to lead for a split second before my off week when I traveled back to Minnesota, and then I got really sick while I was home, and I was off for another week. I had my wheelbase settings accidentally on the wrong setup for last week and didn't realize, and ran out of gas. So it's been a rough couple of weeks, and I'm glad to get the monkey off my back and get that W.
It's impressive, and yes, congratulations on the win. Hopefully we'll get to talk to you when we come back next week at Interlagos.
Yeah, 2 more weeks. Let's go. Thanks, guys.
That was our winner, Kelly Greenhoe. And then DJ is caught up with second place finisher Ryan Kings, who couldn't keep up at the end.
I have indeed, Ryan. A good run there out for you. At P2 on the day, certainly going to help you in the championship with Bradley falling down there in the order. But it just looks like you didn't have the pace to be able to keep up with Kelly up in front.
No, I didn't today. Congrats to those two. They were both incredibly fast today. I was really having to push the limits there, get really close to the grass to keep up with them. Eventually, I had to just kind of concede I was going to get third, and that's why I fell back a bit. I was getting really close to the incident limit.
Well, that answers my question there. Have you fallen back a little bit? But in terms of the pit stop strategy, we saw a lot of variance here. You obviously pitted a little bit later. Was that inspired by seeing Kelly come in so early, or what was your thought there?
At first, I was going to go as long as Lindsay went. But when he came in, I kind of decided I had to go in because with the pace they had, if I waited too long, I would have no chance of getting back in the slipstream they had.
Well, you certainly were able to at least get back out there and to be able to hold on to that. But next time we head to a track that hopefully is going to be a little bit easier to overtake on in the form of Interlagos. How do you like your chances there?
I like that track. I'm looking forward to it a lot. I think got some pretty good chances. I know a lot of the F1 tracks better, so I think that one will be a better race for me.
Well, we wish you all the luck in the world, my friend. Anybody you'd like to thank for this P2 today?
Just all the races today. Had a really good fun again.
All right. Well, thank you. That was your second place finisher out here at Brands Hatch, Ryan Kings. And back to you, Joe.
We got one more quick one. Giancarlo Lenzi, let's get his thoughts on what happened out there. Giancarlo, I'm sure you're a bit surprised when you came out of the pits and you saw Greenho right on top of you like that. But then how early did you know you weren't going to make it on fuel?
Oh,
did we lose Giancarlo there for a second? We may have lost Giancarlo.
I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Sorry about that. How late you mean? Because I thought I had calculated this to the lap, and I did not. I think I panicked. And I was telling Kelly I think I panicked in the pits because I thought I sped into it. Because I was going up to like 48 miles per hour. It's a 45 in there, and I think that just kind of drew me off. I clicked down. Or clicked off my fuel like 0.1, and it was literally the second to last lap. And I was looking at how much was left, and I was like, no, I can't believe I did that. So yeah.
There's been a lot of near misses since that win that you had at round 5. And unfortunately, this one might have been a bit critical because you came in pretty far back in the points. And Greenho was, in the end, the one that really capitalized on a lot of the other drivers up front having bad finishes today and really getting himself back into the hunt. So what do you do from here in the championship?
Oh man, you have to like be really precise. Thankfully, I've been able to have some good races. Right now, I don't know if I'm gonna be in that hunt after a loss, like, well, not really a loss, but kind of a failure on my part to capitalize on it. But you really just got to be precise. Just gotta work it. Make sure everything's on top. Calculate those fuels, and leave a little bit left if you can, and just try to make it up on the track.
Well, unfortunately, I guess lessons learned here today. Congratulations, still on the top 5 and making up for that error there, Giancarlo. And hopefully we'll see you at Interlagos.
That's going to be a rough one. We'll see you guys there.
All right. That was Giancarlo Lenzi, 5th today, as that's going to take us to a quick break. But we have more racing on the way. We are headed off for another British track here at Oulton Park for the GT3 Sprint Series. So stick around.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an advanced sim racing customer.
Welcome back. We are now at Oulton Park Circuit. This one maybe hasn't gotten as much notoriety as Brands Hatch quite, but it certainly puts on a fantastic show. Let's see what it's got in store for our drivers. Welcome to Oulton Park Circuit. This British track to the southeast of Liverpool is a staple in the UK club racing scene, but has also hosted series as high level as Formula One a few times. At least with a small asterisk next to those events, since they were non-championship rounds. The history and the lore of the venue is as unique as the layout itself. But that layout is more than just the international circuit this place is known for. An incredible 8 different versions can be run, but they all range between 1.5 to 2.5 miles in length. It's not exactly a long lap around here. What it lacks in that realm, it more than makes up for in bumps and hills. On top of that, Oulton Park offers some very fast corners, so you certainly won't get bored. Turns like Island Bend, Knickerbrook, and Druids can be utterly fearsome depending on which chicanes are at it. But even the slower corners often involve blind crests or kinked entries, making passing a very difficult prospect. In modern day, the place is mainly visited by touring cars, GT cars, motorcycles, and Formula 3. But here on iRacing, it's quite popular with the vintage community. Needless to say, this is a track that carries on the British tradition of fast, old-school style circuits that challenge and thrill drivers. It'll no doubt be a blast for both our competitors and fans today. Now you see a little bit about this place, but critically here, DJ, today we've got both chicanes on.
We do indeed, and that's going to limit some of the overtaking opportunities around this circuit. It's going to make it for a very, very narrow track all the way around here, even more narrow than it normally is. Look for some of the best overtaking spots, really being maybe a late move going down into Cascades, and then a good draft pass going down into Shell Oil's corner. From there, you may see some stuff into Druids and Lodge, but it's going to have to be high commitment all the way across. That's going to be the word of the day here, Joe, and you've got to be watching out going through Britons and Hislops. Those 2 chicanes, as the tire barriers to the inside, very, very solid. If you try to take it too wide through there, somebody is going to get hurt.
No doubt about that. But so far, Devin Horvath has not experienced much in the way of pain this season. 4 wins, including another one last time out at Winton. That puts him pretty far clear of Pabolano. Just can't seem to get it down and beat him consistently. But Patel even farther back. And then look at that. By the time we get to 4th, we're already 75 points behind. This is highly unusual for Tavitas, Brisson, as well as Drew Becker. Very close fight there amongst those guys through 6th, 7th, and 8th, along with 9th, and then only 4 more back to the top 10. So basically, it's a battle for best of the rest. What about the team points, DJ?
Well, it's a little bit closer there on the team sports with SRT Esports Blue only 49 points back of Devin Horvath's YS Motorsports White. Lunatic Indy Racing and a little bit of a field unto themselves with SimCube, Sim Quebec and P4 140 points back. A good little battle starting to shape up for 5th, though, with MR Motorsports having a 2-point advantage over Lunatic Martin Sports Racing. SDS Racing Team, they're tied for 7th with Team Beef, with Parabola Midnight and FTR Esports a fair ways back as well.
As for this race, it's going to be a little bit longer than what we just watched with the MX-5s because they've got a 5 extra minutes on this one, 40 minutes to go. Open setups just like before, and the same penalties at 13 and 17 incidents. This one might be a little bit more punishing. The barriers are just as close, and the cars are even faster. And then there's the bonus points, the same as well, which Drew Becker right now looks like he might have the bonus for that pole position as we count down to 0. And that means our grid is set. So let's go through that starting order here today. Drew Becker on the top of the sheets here in the qualifying with Precker on his outside. It'll be Devin Horvath starting from third and Ryan Patel in fourth. After that, it's Rob Campbell fifth, Michael Pavolano P6, and it's Luke Davis P7 and Miguel Fonseca eighth. Blake Ziti on the inside of row 5 with Ethan Tavitas next to him.
In 11th, it's going to be Tommy Brisson, followed by Caleb Limon with Alex Wright and Roy Brown in row 7 behind them. Lucio Vargas will start off 15th, followed by Alan Roth with Dale Peterson and Eric Dubé. They're in 18th. Andrew Ellis is 19th, and Neil Alexander rounds out your top 20.
21st goes to Glenn Vonko with Sean Carmody 22nd. After that, it's Robert Gow in 23rd. David Moore starts P24. Brian Hoskins 25th. Then it's Michael Blaze, P26. Baron Hilton 27th. And Jim Fitzpatrick 28th. Last one to set a time was Ryan Luna in the 29th position. Rodriguez, McKenzie, and Matthews round out the fields, but it looks like McKenzie will not be joining us as he's not in the session. So 31 cars going to be taking place in this race. It's going to be a lot of drivers. We got 2 onboard cams for us here today, and they are both on the front row. We have Corey Precker back once again, and then Drew Becker is here as well. We'll see if his buddy shows up at some point during the race. So front row certainly going to be trying to do their best to actually give us reason to show them, show those cams up front, because Horvath starting behind them is going to be hungry to try and make it a 5th win and continue to extend himself farther away.
Yeah, indeed. And he's going to be looking to be a little bit aggressive there to try to do it. But watch for this Audi here, Joe. We have got 4 Audis in the top 10 here today. I think that's going to be probably the preferred car to get their way around a little bit easier, a little bit better. It's nimble and light, able to take these corners a little bit better.
Remember how we were talking about last time out at Winton, the Mercedes was going to struggle? I think the same thing is what we're seeing today. The highest one, 11th with Tommy Brisson. He is not doing so hot out here.
No, that Merc is going to be in a little bit of trouble out here today, as would I have to say the BMW to a slightly lesser degree. So watch for those two to have a little bit of problems coming through the faster parts of these corners.
You say to a lesser degree. I don't know if that's a testament to Drew Becker's skill and speed or what, because he's in a Beamer on pole here for this race as we now come through Deerleap, and the pace car is going to peel off. Waiting for the green flag. Becker holding them up, and now he is on it. Green flag is out, down into Old Hall, who is going to be able to make it through here safely, as this is a difficult first corner that tightens up on the exit, and a little bit of contact between 2, but it looks like they made it out of there, and everybody behind is clean.
Yeah, look at that big gap already that Drew Becker is able to extend. Oh, Tommy Brisson getting swept up into the rug there. He's already down 2 positions in that Mercedes. Devin Horvath already up 1 over Corey Precker as the field fans its way out. Little bit of contact there behind.
Yeah, only problem there in those first 2 corners was Robert Gow getting pushed off through Cascades. Oh, and now we've had another one, a big wreck out into Shell Oil, as it looks like that was somebody that went off at Island. I think, oh, that was Luke Davis.
Oh, and that's going to be some pretty heavy damage there to the right-hand side of that lunatic racing machine. But up front, it continues to be Drew Becker. He's already got a 2nd gap over Devin Horvath.
Trying to do what he can to get away now, because they're probably going to be catching some lap traffic at some point in this race with this many cars around this short of a circuit. And everybody manages to get through the 2nd chicane cleanly that I can see. Now up into Druids, a different Druids corner here in England. And let's see if everybody can manage to get out of there clean. So far, so good. Not any big incidents as we ride on board. Believe this is with the car of Fonseca, the number 666, who sits in 8th place. He's trying to chase on Ziti. Out of Old Hall they go for the 2nd time around. Not too bad. That was better than I expected it to be, if I'm honest, DJ.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, Joe. Very good on these drivers to keep everything relatively calm and collected. Not a big pile up, not a complete track blockage. I was frankly almost expecting there to be a little bit of a yellow flag to get thrown. This is a track that could certainly happen on. But as of right now, ooh, there we go. One of the, that's Neil Alexander making a move on Eric Dube.
And that's going to get him the spot. So Neil up into 16th, Eric down to 17th. And they head towards the first chicane into Britain's. This one is a little bit swifter than the other, and they all navigate that securely. Then they get a little bit of a run over Hilltop until the braking into Hislops. And this one, another one where it's almost the reverse. It starts tight. Oh, and Baron Hilton, unfortunately, finding Britain's a little too difficult.
Yeah, I think he just spun that car. Doesn't appear to be any damage on the Mercedes, so he should be okay there. Not looking like he's going to have too many problems. We got a side-by-side, though. This is Precker and Campbell.
Campbell down to the inside of Lodge. Can he get the job done? Yes, he can. One Audi over the other. That puts the 93 onto the podium. And can he run away, though, because Precker's still right there, and that's Patel in the number 14, as Horvath sets the fastest lap of the race, way wide there for the orange and white number 14. And then following close, Pavolano also trying to see if he can capitalize on what's been happening in front of him.
And I thought Patel was going to have a pretty good run there, but he had to check himself up coming through that first corner of Old Hall. May get a little bit of pressure here from behind. We ride out the back of Corey Precker right now. Patel going to try to see what he can do down into Shell Oils. This is starting to turn into a real train, Joe.
Don't know why Precker is struggling so much here, as he started on the front row and just can't seem to keep pace with the leaders, on top of also now having this great pressure from behind, with Patel still right there. Campbell is starting to pull away. You can see the gap as we hop off of his car now to the TV cameras, and a couple more off here at Shell Oil, a Ferrari. That's Morris, and looks like Vargas involved in it.
Yeah, Eric Dube as well in the Mercedes. So all the Mercedes camp not having a good day. There's the 710. That is Vargas trying to get himself back up to speed, cutting through the chicane. Yeah, that car is crabbing a little bit. You can see how it wants to just veer to the right. My guess is he's going to take a tow.
We need a replay on what caused that. It starts with Eric Dubé in the 87. He spun out of Island Bend. And then everybody coming around there is so fast and so blind, it was a chain reaction. He got hit by 3 cars, including Peterson, Vargas, and I believe Vonco, and then someone behind him spun in sympathy as well, and Andrew Ellis. Oh, and off to the left, we can't see it, Robert Gow. Let's see if we can see it from this angle. No, doesn't look like we will. He just plows head on into the tire barrier to the left of the camera here.
Oh, lots of drivers getting caught out here, and this is not, oh, there it is, just coming right on down. I'm not sure what caused that to go. Oh, he just got off onto the grass, tried to keep his foot in it, and oof.
Well, paid the price being greedy. You generally want to try and just mitigate the problems there. Look, man, it is a parking lot. That is unbelievable. Well, it wasn't the first lap. It was the middle of the race there that caused us the big issues. Thankfully, it wasn't any bigger than it wound up being, but it did send a number of them down into pit lane. Becker's still our leader. Horvath still in second, with Campbell in third. And then there's this man in fourth, Corey Precker, who just has formed a truly train, if there ever was one, all the way down behind him.
Yeah, it definitely looks like he's a little bit of here, the cork in the bottle. Trying to catch back up is Ryan Patel. Remember, we said that he was trying to get that move done. Here he goes down into Lodge. I said this was going to be a high commitment zone, and indeed, Patel's going to have to go for it. Tries to send it down, push Precker offline, and he's got it.
Something is up with Precker here today. He is way off pace, and now Pavolano is going to be the next one to overtake him. Looking to the inside. It's rare that you see passes happen, and that's why, as it pinches down, Pavolano had to lift big time.
Yeah, big lift there, and now Pavolano's going to be under attack there from Blake Seedy. They're going to be Noah's Ark with Tavitas and Fonseca there behind them. Somehow they all managed to find it out. That's Pavolano getting very squirrely, though.
Oh, just barely catches it. Now Limon is going to try and overtake on Fonseca. Fonseca gives that one up. Almost a little too wide there for Limon. Holds tough and sending it deep around the banking. And Shell Oil, he's going to take the spot back. Fonseca, that was a brilliant move.
Oh my goodness, Joe, that was fantastic from the McLaren spitting fire down through the banked corner. That is how you hold on to a position.
So, well, that was unexpected there from the 666 car to hold on to that P8 spot, but he did it masterfully. Now he's got to try and focus forward, see if he can get up to Tavitas, who he was fighting with earlier. And all this has done is allowed Patel to just drop them all, but it is still Precker that is leading the Lemmings across the cliff here, as these drivers try not to fall off the edge. Ooh, and Ziti's slow. Tavitas knows it, but he comes back to the racing line.
Yeah, a little bit of flash of the lights there, trying to see if he can maybe force him offline just slightly. They're going to come over over Deer Leap there, trying to see what can be made around as they go heavy onto the braking. Fonseca able to look like he's breaking away from Limon there. That'll be a little bit of a good thing there for him, and now he's going to be on the attack onto Tavitas.
He's going to have to get a very, very good run, though, coming out of Cascades. Not sure that McLaren's near enough to him. No, he'll have to stay put unless he can pull that move again. Let's see. This is where he was when he made that brilliant pass before. No, he's not going to go for it again. So they stay in order.
Yeah, I think that may be a move you only try once, Joe. I think if you tried that one again, it may end up in tears for him. Looks like these three Audis, though, still running very close. Precker, Ziti, and Tavitas all in a line as they come out of that first chicane.
Now, this has certainly been looking like something. Well, it's had its action already, but it's boiling up once again. And it's all because of that number 35 Audi at the front of this group. That's every time somebody manages to get an attack on, it all trickles down through the rest of the fields as they fly through Druids here. Anybody going to make a mistake on this double right-hander? No, nobody this time, although it's mighty close between Tavitas and Fonseca. Looks like Miguel wanted to try something, but decided it wasn't near enough.
Yeah, didn't want to send it in there. Still very early in this race. We're only about 10 minutes down, so you do not want to do anything that'll throw the race away. We ride on board right now with that McLaren. Fonseca, a little bit of a wide run in there in front from Tavitas, but didn't slow him down too much.
And this is all happening behind Becker, Horvath, and Campbell, who are still our top three. No changes up there right now. Ooh, this is a very good run from Ziti. He is kind of looking around either side of Precker. I think he cost himself time as he had to lift early coming into Island Bend.
Yeah, I wasn't able to quite get it there. Good run out of the corner there, though, for Ziti. Is he maybe going to try a little bit of a move? That's Precker going slightly defensive. Oh, we've got a car off. That's Ellis or Luna. I can't tell which.
That's Andrew Ellis, yeah, in the 517. I believe that was coming off of Island Bend. No, that was off the first corner. So Old Hall bit him, and he falls to 21st. Meanwhile, down into his lops and out of Knickerbrook, trying to launch the car as well as he can just to keep himself safe from all of his rivals. Look at the gap that's between himself and Patel. It's 2.5 seconds already between them. So clearly he was, and I think still is, the cork in the bottle. I think these guys do have better pace.
Yeah, I certainly think they do, and that's going to light a fire here under Blake Ziti. If he knows that he's got more pace than what he's showing right now, he does not want to let that 2.5 second gap up to Ryan Patel grow any more as they go. Working here. It looks like Precker's got a little bit of breathing room here. That's the first time he's been able to have that for a while.
Indeed, and they're getting close to the pit window opening, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on with this 35. I can't imagine he's trying to fuel save to go completely to the end. I wouldn't think this track would allow them to save that much fuel. So I'm just, I mean, it's possible because at Witten they did that, and that was a very short lap, but he's certainly giving away a lot of positions up to this point.
Yeah, he certainly is. I'm riding on board with him right now, Joe. He's not really lifting and coasting into the chicanes necessarily. There was a pretty big lift and a late put onto the power coming through Cascades. Oh, he may be under a little pressure here from ZD, who's going to look to the inside, think better of it, though. So I'm not sure necessarily that Precker's saving all that much fuel.
Yeah, last round, some of the drivers were actually rather shocked to see somebody go to the end, despite us having... It's not unheard of. It's happened in a few races where they've managed to save the fuel, because there is no rule in the PRL rulebook that says you must pit. It is all down to just the fuel being limited in the car. So if you can get creative, I mean, no stop it, but it's just extremely difficult to do. And we saw a little bit of dip into the dirt from Tavitas, and another one coming off of Lodge. Here comes Fonseca.
Yeah, that McLaren's going to be looking to be threatening here, but as we said, very hard to get a pass done into Old Hall, and indeed he's going to have to stay behind there. A little bit of a tighter run off at the corner for Fonseca. It's going to just setting him up. He's got to wait for that good moment to strike, and around here there are very few of those moments.
A little bit of wide run in front of them from Ziti, as close as he was coming through Cascades. I would have thought he'd have a better opportunity, but nope. Just can't quite make it work. Oh, and behind them, somebody gaining under braking. That is Limon back there in the 42.
Yeah, Limon, remember, he was the one that tried to make that attack down to the inside of Fonseca, and it didn't work. Well, all of this bottling up behind Corey Precker has really allowed for him to be able to close right back into this battle.
So now it becomes a 5-car fight instead, into his laps and just slowly weaving back and forth. Not as often seen here as much as it is in the real world, where they have to be concerned about the safety of the drivers. Here in the sim world, they can take that fast Knickerbrook, and a lot of the vintage series do elect to try and run that version. But here in these modern GT3s today, we've got the chicanes in. And so they've got to slow up. Oh, big defense from Tavitas. Gives just enough space. Oh, no, they come together, and they're both going to go off. Fonseca off into the dirt, trying to get the car going. And somehow in that, Tavitas gets the car rolling without losing a position at all.
I have no idea how he was able to do that, Joe, and now that it's completely broken this 5-car group up into couplets here with Patel and Precker and Ziti, rather, and Tavitas and Limon now running by themselves.
Now, one less car is certainly what Precker has been hoping for, but it's not the one directly behind him. It's still Ziti right there. Fonseca came in and pitted immediately, as it looks like that damage has affected him too greatly. Hopefully he can get back out, and this is just going to be mostly a normal stop. It looks like it was. That was only 10 seconds, so Fonseca returns as we continue to watch the battle for what is currently 5th.
Yeah, indeed, and a little bit of contact there coming out of Shell Oils. Precker, I think, spun the tires, and here comes Ziti. He is tired of waiting around. He's going to go down to the inside of the chicane.
No more of this tomfoolery, says Blake Ziti. He is through. Oh, and there's more contact. And that was Caleb Limon, unfortunately not anticipating the checkup from Tavitas. The Ferrari tries to find the track and eventually scrambles his way to the black stuff. Well, this has been a very interesting lap in this train, and I believe we've got the replay of the first incident ready to go with Fonseca down into Lodge Corner. Let's take another look at it.
Yeah, Fonseca just tries to go to the outside there, unfortunately touches the grass, and that's what sends the car sideways into the side there of Tavitas. That was just really a little bit overeager. We ride on board here. You're going to see this perfectly. There's the move. There's the touch on the grass, and just Fonseca finding himself spun.
Almost wonder if he got completely squeezed off from onboard. It didn't look like he had a full car's width. Oh, and Fonseca spins as who is that? That's in Druids. That is Neil Alexander, and another car in the foreground just spun off as well. So what is going on here? These are all 3 separate incidents from what I can tell.
Yeah, nobody really attached to one another, just independently spinning off there. Everybody having problems. That's the 520 off. That's Brian Hoskins.
The YS Motorsports red car returns. Looks like he's got a little bit of damage. And, oh, another off. Fonseca must have had some sort of suspension or handling damage on the car, because 3 times within a lap or 2 just seems a bit much to me. And I can report that Hoskins did run into the wall with his off behind him. And Tavitas has a black flag. That's got to be for incident limits, I'm pretty sure. So does Fonseca, actually.
Well, I mean, if there was heavy contact there with Tavitas, and Fonseca, that means that that's a 4 incident right there, and you're already well on your way to getting that. So that could have been what drew him out. Yeah, there he comes down pit lane.
So Fonseca's already been in and out to serve his penalty. Tavitas joins. Looks like Alex Wright is in, but this is a scheduled stop for Alex. And Caleb Limon comes in, also a scheduled stop. Starting to see the drivers slowly trickle in to take their fuel and then dive back out. But Drew Becker, who is basically had control of this race since the drop of the green, has 3.5 seconds over Devin Horvath. Normally, that would feel very comfortable for most, but don't count out Devin Horvath, honestly.
No, never count out Devin Horvath. We've seen him come back, especially after pit stops, just setting the car up a little bit better for the late run. Although Becker has been one of the drivers that has been able to put a consistent challenge to him, so we'll have to see how that shakes out. But right now, it does look like Becker has the upper hand, but as easy as it is to make a mistake around here, anything can happen.
As the great Murray Walker once said, anything can happen, and it usually does. So as we watch him tick off yet another lap here on to lap 13, just about hitting that halfway mark. And with that train broken up, that's taken away many of our battles. We do still have Roth and Carmody close for 9th and 10th. So we see a few of them in the mid-pack, actually just in front of them. This is Precker, Brown, and Brissall as well, and somebody has had a trip through the grass in the first chicane.
And that's Jim Fitzpatrick. Some damage there to the back of that Ferrari. I'm not sure if he picked that up on this outing or if that was some previous damage that he got into.
Carmody just pit, so believe, yep, that is a scheduled stop for him. After 2 drivers very quickly having black flags, I'm kind of keeping an eye just to make sure that everybody is pitting for the right reasons right now, as the Team Beef car of Roy Brown has gained 7 positions. Very nice job so far, keeping it clean, keeping it out of trouble, and just picking them off.
Yeah, and at a track like this, that's exactly what you need to do. And I've got to give credit to Roy Brown. I mean, he's up 7 on the day. It's just calm, considerate driving here that you have got to be able to get, and that is the way you are going to be able to get into a good top 10 like we see here. Oh, we've got another car around.
Blaze coming out of Island Bend. That's a Porsche. I'm going to take a wild stab that the rear came around on him in that fast corner.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there on that one. Just some front-end damage to the car, although that's not going to be as detrimental to the Porsche. Obviously, rear engine on that.
Gotta say, big credit to Tommy Brisson, who we're talking about how he's going to have a hard day. He's still up 3 positions. Maybe it could have been more if it wasn't the Mercedes, but he's been making the best of what he's got, as it looks like that was Precker, actually. Precker pitting in.
All right, interesting. So that does confirm that he is not making any fuel strategy decisions there. He was just a little bit down on pace.
Okay, well, we'll see if he has a short stop. Maybe he'll still get a little bit of a jump in that sense, but he gave a lot of time to do so if that's the case. And no, not short. 11.8 seconds. Something, he must have hit something or just doesn't like this track. Well, if he doesn't like this track, he's a very good hot lapper because he started on the front row. This is, I do not have any sort of explanation that I can really figure out for what is going on for the 35.
I have to agree with you there, Joe. It's a bit of a mystery to me as well, as we focus back on Roy Brown, starting to pull that gap over Tommy Brisson, up to about 0.8 of a second now for the Team Beef driver.
And they've been released by a couple of the drivers in front of them, pitting in. poor Tavitas, who is showing on our screens as having been down pit lane, is not stopped because of him serving that black flag. So even though he's in ninth and has been on the pits, he's still got to have to come in for another time and continue to drop a few of those. So Roy Brown into Lodge. Let's see if he decides to pit this time, or is he going to carry on? He's going to carry on.
Yeah, a lot of the drivers here, I would expect them at this point to see most of them try to carry this fuel load to the absolute end of the race, or as end of the fuel tank as they can. So maybe around lap, or with about 12 minutes to go is normally where we see that, unless somebody's got a very, very light right foot.
And with 17 minutes left on the clock, the window allows them probably about 4 more laps or so before, maybe 5 actually, that they'll need to pit in down into the difficult braking of Island Bend. We instead jump farther back, and this is coming out of Old Hall for, is that Precker, I think, that we're looking at? Yes, that is Precker, who after the pit stop, and some of them were behind him before the pit stop, are still behind him after the pit stop as well.
Well, there it just goes to show you that sometimes the overcut or the undercut doesn't work, and you just come out the same way that you are. But yeah, that's Alex Wright, Sean Carmody, and Limon there behind them as they run around the Ferrari. Very bright purple scheme, trying to close down there. The gap coming down to about 3.5 tenths of a second.
Yeah, I do like Alex Wright's paint scheme. And great exit there coming off of Britain's. This is where we saw a pass on Precker before. I think the Ferrari wants to emulate that, and he's got the overlap, but fighting back. Precker's making him work hard for it. Oh, spinning the wheels up. Alex is not taking no for an answer. There's 1, there's 2. Is it gonna be 3? Limon seems to think so. He's gonna get a little bit of overlap.
He's going to get a little bit of overlap, but as that track kinks to the left there, he's going to have to fall back in line. Now he's going to get right directly in line there as they go through Druids, trying to see if he can get anything for us. A little bit of an error here up ahead of them. That's a little bit of a look from Carmody.
Yeah, he had a much better exit, but he couldn't go anywhere with it. As parked at the exit, Alex Wright forced him to lift. So Carmody maybe will want 1 more than what he just picked up from Precker in that advantageous situation. Down to 15 minutes to go now. These 4 battling for what is right now 12th, but will probably be around the top 5, I believe, after the pit stops are done.
Yeah, that's about what this should shake out to be. The top 10 right here have yet to come down pit lane, so still waiting for them to peel off.
Just brushing the dirt there through Island Bend, Alex Wright, but it's history repeating itself all over again. Wright's passed on Precker and immediately putting some distance between himself, and I would say Precker, but right now it's between himself and Carmody instead, although Carmody also going away from the number 35. But the pace of Corey Precker, his best lap is a 33.2. Everybody around him is running mid-32s as their best lap, as it looks like the 14 of Patel is in.
Yeah, Patel, one of those top 10 that's going to come in. He is the first of them, still waiting for pit stops from the rest of them. We keep our eyes focused here, though, on Corey Precker, that Ferrari of Caleb Limon, trying to see if he can get anything, but it doesn't look like he's able to close down quite as quickly as we saw a couple of the other ones.
Patel already back out and rolling, and he is going to be our highest driver to have pitted. He comes out ahead of Pabolano, and by a very big margin as well. Our drivers who started up towards the top, not doing all that well today, it seems. It just seems like some drivers have not figured this track out, or maybe don't feel confident in what's required to be fast here today against guys like Becker, Horvath. Campbell's not doing too bad either. He's a little ways behind the top 2, but he's currently sitting in 3rd place.
Yes, he is. So he's got a pretty healthy advantage on either side of him, too. He's got about 7.5 seconds up to Horvath and about 13 back to Blake Ziti. So he's not sitting too bad right now.
Nope. He heads off here into lap 18. Should probably be pitting about next time by, unless he's really been saving on the fuel for much of this race. Things are settled down now a little bit, although poor Corey Precker still has our closest fight as Roy Brown pits in on your screen and has to dive in very early. This is a track where the Armco blocks your view of some of the stalls.
And he actually missed his pit stall there, Joe. He had to reverse back into it, so that's going to cost him a couple of tenths of a second, if not a full second or two.
Well, it was a pretty good day for the Team Beef driver, but little mistakes like that, you got to watch out for them. So Pavelano goes by. Patel has gone by. Alex Wright is going to be able to overtake him, maybe. Yes, he is. So is Sean Carmody. So Brown now at the back of that train, as Corey Precker is still behind them after he lost the spots, with Caleb Limon still giving chase. And he can see those who he was leading before just running off into the distance.
And as a driver, though, that is such a disheartening feeling to just see that pace running away from you. Brown, though, here looking like he's going to be able to keep up a good little bit of pressure on the back of Carmody, as we've got some more pitters coming down pit lane. Becker, Horvath, both coming down.
But Campbell stays out, and they got a long ways before they get down to Ziti. He's still coming through Lodge. So Becker and Horvath, who's going to be the first out between them. There comes Ziti. Becker, 13.1, a little bit of a longer stop than most everybody we've seen so far, and yet he still will retain the effective lead. Horvath out behind him. I'm still seeing about 3.5 seconds between the pair of them.
Yeah, but crucially here for the 22, he exited back out in some pretty heavy traffic here. These are some lapped cars that he is around right now, and that's going to slow him up a little bit. Maybe give a little bit of an advantage to Devin Horvath.
Good. We'll have to watch and see. This is not where Becker wanted to be. Luke Davis is probably going to be pitting in this time, and I got to imagine Vargas as well. We should be pretty much outside the window if they keep going from here, and not sure if that was a mistake or trying to pull off to the side. I think he was trying to let him through.
Yeah, I think he was as well. Yeah, there he goes. So that is going to put that back into his hands. The gap about 3.2 seconds between Becker and Horvath now. And with just over 10 minutes to go, I think Becker just has to focus in, make sure he gets everything nice and easy. But lap traffic is going to become a bit of a problem here, as he is really going to get to the meat of the field.
Absolutely. Looks like Andrew Ellis has pitted in, and we got another one, Rob Campbell. So our third place driver pitting. Ellis is back out, and will he be ahead? No, he's not ahead of the leaders, or at least very close to the leaders. So they'll have a little ways before they need to try and lap cars. In fact, I tell you what, oh, no, that was Gal that just got by him. I was going to say, I thought the leader just went by a car exiting pit lane. That was somebody else. That is our leader right there. That is Drew Becker ahead of Horvath. Baron Hilton just in front of him by, looks like, maybe about 4 seconds or so. We've also got a battle for 12th with Alan Roth and Caleb Limon.
Oh, and there goes Limon down to the inside of Roth, going through that final corner at Lodge. That was a good move there for him.
Decisive, and he just basically picked it up and put it down. So we watch from the onboard perspective of Corey Precker from the front row down to 11th right now for that number 35, and that's after the pit stops. That is a legitimate position for Corey. I don't know if we'll be able to get him in to talk to him after the race, but I certainly want to know what in the world happened to him in this race. And can he get any positions here in this last stint? Can he, for some reason, pick the pace back up?
Well, Joe, it's not out of the question. I mean, you know, you're out there qualifying, you're on a lighter fuel load. He may just have a better feeling for that Audi when it's lighter on fuel and lighter as a whole. So he may be able to get a couple of positions here in these closing stages if that were to be the case.
Robert Gow trying to tell them which way to go as he gets lapped. Sometimes not easy being the car with the blue flags being shown at you. You don't want to interrupt things, but this isn't a track with too many long straights, and it's very narrow. I'm sure it's just as annoying for both parties as coming up and over the hill. Patel and Ziti split by a half a second trying to decide who gets the last 2 spots in the top 5.
Yeah, and both of them setting their personal bests on that last lap, so they are absolutely pushing at it. Ziti looks like he's able to close in a little bit better into braking, going down through Cascades there. I have to see if we'll keep that up. Coming under a half a second here.
So we're hearing that Becker may have had a bit of a problem last lap. I wonder if that was lap traffic. That'd be my guess, frankly. And yeah, it looks like he was caught up behind Neil Alexander, so had to try and go by him between Island Bend and Shell Oil, but they navigated it better than I would have anticipated as we now watch Oulton and Horvath, but Horvath looks like he's getting it even worse.
Yeah, that's not where you want to be caught up there going through Druids. That very fast right-hander, and then again here into Lodge. Now, this could be very devastating if he catches up to him through the run into Cascades. You don't want to get held up there. You want to have that lap traffic pull off to the side for you, and I'm not sure if Horvath is going to get that opportunity.
It'll depend on the pace of the 76. I think he's going to get him around Shell Oil, most likely. He's still closing in here. You can see that's Alexander in the brown and black, number 76, with the white and gray of Horvath. No, not going to be Shell Oil, but I mean the back side of the track is going to be even worse. There's just those chicanes and little short straights connecting them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, Joe, we're trying to figure out a good place here to be able to get that move out of the way for the lap traffic. And the truth of the matter is there's not really a good place. As you mentioned earlier, it is just all tight, twisty, and narrow the whole way around.
Continuing to ride on board with the Ferrari, chasing on the McLaren, coming down through the Hislop chicane. And you can tell how committed Horvath is, just glancing on either of the curbs down through Knickerbrook. Now up to Druids. Let's see if he's just as tidy here. Double apexer just off the first one, right down to the second one, and right down to the outside. It does him well, but he's not actually gaining on Neil, it seems.
No, that gap is resolutely sticking at about 3 to 3.2 seconds. It's not coming down at all. And, you know, on the last lap, let's see what their laps are this time by, as Drew was able to get down to a 31.8 and Devin Horvath running a 31.9, so about a tenth of a second slower. I think Drew Becker just has a better feel for this track, as it has to be said.
Yeah, he's got this place mastered. There's no doubt about that. And it's been a bit of an up and down season for Becker. In fact, I'm trying to find him on the point sheet and figure out where in the world he sits.
I'm not sure. There's the move out of the way there for Neil Alexander, just letting him on by the best he can. And that's frankly one of the better places to be able to do it. I don't think that cost Devin too much time.
Yeah, so Becker's in 6th in the points. That's because I mean, listen to this. He scored 33, then 1, then 38, then 10, then 33, then a DNF, then 32. I mean, he's been consistent about getting back up there and getting top 10s, top 5s, but every other race, it just doesn't seem to cooperate with him. This, if he brings it home, will finally break the trend.
Well, and with about 4.5 minutes to go, which I think, looking at it, it should be about 4, maybe 5 to go at the line. He's got it all to do here still yet. This is a track that'll come out to bite you at any point, but with that gap now at about 3.8 seconds, he's got some good breathing room.
Yeah, this is 3 laps to go right here for Drew Becker. He's got a handy gap. Horvath finally managed to overtake on Neil Alexander. Campbell's another 5 seconds back there, so 9.5 between P1 and P3. It's been a bit of a dud in that sense for the top of the field in this race, but look at this as we come back to Roy Brown, still in 10th. His long pit stop has now forced him to play defense on Caleb Limon so that he can retain a top 10.
Yeah, and they've been having to fight this tooth and nail. This battle has been really raging since those pit stops came to an end. Keeping it around here. It looks like he's got a little bit of an edge on the Ferrari versus Ferrari battle, but still time left to play.
Time left, but not a whole lot of time left. One we might also want to give a look at if this does not pick up is Roth, Precker, and Tavitas are nose to tail. And there they are on screen. Now, this is what I was meaning. And in fact, it looks like Tavitas wants to overtake on Precker. Precker just covering him off, making that Audi a little bit wider, breaking down into shell oil. Instead of being chased, well, he is still chased. He's now the chaser with Alan Roth in front of him. Great exit off the hairpin. I wouldn't think you'd dare into Britons, and he didn't.
No, we've mainly seen the overtakes coming down into Hislops, and doesn't look like he got quite the run as he did coming out of Shell Oils there, so he's going to have to just stay back in line. 1, 2, 3. They're going to file their way through that second chicane.
So can they manage to keep out of trouble in these final few minutes? I'm sure each eager to try and grab a spot right at the end, especially guys like Precker, who's down 11, just wants to make up something for this miserable race today. We're a lap and a half away from the finish now, as Becker's continuing to lap slower cars up at the front of the field. And man, just they almost look identical in some cases, the way these guys are going through the corners.
Yeah, they really do. You see the precision of the lines that these drivers are running. There, Tavitas taking a little bit of a wider arc, though it has to be said, through Old Hall, and that cost him a couple of tenths.
Couple of tenths, but he probably needs a little bit more than that to try and make the overtake. So the drivers have got to be aggressive. They've got to try and make some Hail Marys or just really push so that they're right on top of the car in front. You can see them accordion together down into Shell Oil, just as Drew Becker is coming off of Lodge and now taking the white flag for 1 to go.
Indeed, and Becker still has that 3.3 second gap over Devin Horvath. Now, in terms of lap traffic that he's going to have to worry about, he's got none. David Morse is the closest car to him, and that's about 9 seconds up the road.
Oh, and there, oh no, spinning off. That was Precker, actually. He must have had the spot. He must have made the move on Roth very late. And, oh, no, Tavitas had some contact in that, and that DQ'd him. Oh, no. That was just the lightest of touches. Roth just brushed him.
Just barely brushed him, and that is one of the concerns here, running as close as these drivers are on a circuit like this. I said it, Brands Hatch, you're racing the track as much as you're racing the other drivers, and here it is just as true.
The answer to whether or not they can stay out of trouble to the checkered flag is a no, at least for Tavitas and Precker. Roth is going to keep going in 12th. Was that Vonco? No, that was Roth, I think, that they were racing with there. So Tavitas will continue to drop spots and will wind up down with Fonseca, Vargas, Matthews, and Dubé there at the bottom, who did not see the checkered flag. As Drew Becker, who approaches into Lodge Corner, has been back and forth, hot and cold. This time, he stays hot here in England as he takes a win at Oulton Park.
A fantastic drive for the BMW 22 there, and setting the fastest lap on that final lap as well, just to put it all together.
He's 80 points behind Devin Horvath, though, who was going to finish in second, so that bonus point isn't going to do much, I'm afraid, for Drew Becker, as Patel just off the podium, but also just ahead of Ziti, gets himself fourth. Blake at top 5. We only had 14 cars finish on the lead lap. More than half of them got lapped or more here today.
Well, I mean, Joe, it's a short circuit as we watch this battle between Brown and Limon. It's seeing to think that Roy Brown's going to be able to hold on to it, and indeed he is at the line.
Nicely done by the 313. That's a top 10 for him. Vanko is going to be the last of them to finish in that 14th spot. That's going to give us a chance to take a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
This is the world's premier online racing simulation. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat from your home computer with the most realistic online motorsports experience you'll find anywhere. Race virtually in the world's biggest events with officially licensed series, cars, and tracks. From the high banks of Daytona to the blistering speeds of Indianapolis, the dirt of Eldora to the world's most legendary road courses. It's all here, and with more than 180,000 people just like you already driving, you'll always have someone to race. Ready to get behind the wheel? Sign up at iRacing.com to get started.
Welcome back to Oulton Park. We just watched round 8 in the Precision Racing League GT3 Sprint Series, and Drew Becker got himself a second win of the season here today after starting from pole. Just controlled this race. Devin Horvath couldn't quite beat him this time, but still a second place. Horvath extends himself well over all of his rivals as Rob Campbell was third, Ryan Patel P4, and then Blake Ziti was fifth. After that, Michael Pavolano, who was second in the points coming into this race, could only manage a sixth where he started. Tommy Brisson, once again, he just never fails to surprise at 11th to 7th in the Mercedes. Alex Wright was 8th, and Sean Carmody from 22nd to 9th, and that was with qualifying, as Roy Brown was 10th.
We saw Roy be able to hold off Caleb Limon there in 11th with Alan Roth behind them, and Corey Precker able to hold on to 13th despite starting on the front row. Glenn Vanko was the last driver to finish on the lead lap with Andrew Ellis and Neil Alexander behind him in 15th and 16th. Barron Hilton, another one of the Mercedes out there, in 17th, followed by Michael Blaze, and then Ethan Tabitas and Dale Peterson 2 laps down.
From there in 21st, it was Ryan Luna. Jim Fitzpatrick was 23rd. You've got Brian Hoskins, P24, and David Morse, 25th, the last one to finish. Gal Fonseca, Vargas, Matthews, Dubé, Rodriguez, and McKenzie did not see the checkered flag here today. So let's talk to our winner here, Drew Becker, who looked like he certainly had things well under control for much of the race. Drew, did it feel under control from inside the car?
It did, finally. As you guys have said, and as I'm sure everybody else has noticed, you guys keep giving me the commentator's curse. So I'm glad that this one panned out, and I've had 2 races back-to-back that I've been able to finish in a high position. So it was good to get one that I felt like I could control a little bit.
Yeah, that's such an unusual pattern because usually we see drivers go on momentum swings. They'll have a down period, and then they'll have an up period. But you were just back and forth. What do you think was causing that, other than us?
So to be honest, I'm as you can probably see from the quali times, I'm a quali guy. I'm a hot lapper. And I don't race a lot of official races. So a lot of it comes down to just me being, overly confident in certain corners, and I'll put a tire in the dirt like I did in Road America or in the Nordschleife. So I've been a little bit more proactive on that, and been doing a lot of AI races and official races, trying to kind of get my consistency up. I apologize for the car coming by.
Oh, it's okay. We couldn't really hear it. So, well, I mean, the UK seems to be treating you well. So when we head off to Brands Hatch, can you keep this going?
I hope so. Like Oulton, well, for instance, on Oulton, I didn't have any laps at all. I think I did a couple practice laps in a Mazda at one point. So it was learning a totally new track and just kind of found the pace eventually, but it took a little while. Brands Hatch is going to be a challenge. I know I hate that downhill kind of blind drop, I guess is what you can call it. So it'll be fun to learn. And I know the guys over here at Lunatic, and we're going to get practice on it pretty hard.
Well, again, congratulations on the second win of the season. And we do wish you the best when we head off over to Brands Hatch.
Sounds good. I appreciate the time, the broadcast, and everything you guys do.
Thank you very much. That was Drew Becker, your winner in the 22 car today, who was followed home by Rob Campbell in third in the number 93. DJ has caught up with him.
Well, Rob, it looked like a pretty quiet race for you out there. You were just kind of running into the field unto yourself, but third place got to feel good around a tricky Oulton Park.
Yeah, it was. It's a long time coming. I've not had much success in the GT3 series here the last couple seasons, so it's nice to finally get up on the podium.
Well, is this a track that you think it was just kind of the perfect combo for you and the Audi, or what do you attribute finally getting up onto the podium here again for you?
To be honest with you, I kind of struggled all this week practicing. I ran a couple, or tried to run a couple of official races, and just struggled. So I wasn't sure what was going to come of the night. But been talking all week with the lunatic guys, and we kind of sharing ideas back and forth. So they kind of helped out quite a bit. So if it wasn't for those guys, I probably would have struggled a little more here.
Well, as we turn our sights to next week, it's another British track in the form of Brands Hatch. Can we expect another podium from you there, you think?
I hope so. I'm going to try. Brands is one of my favorites. So hopefully we can get back up there again next week.
Well, I wish you all the luck in the world, my friend. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for the run today, though?
Again, I'd like to thank all the guys over at Lunatic. I'm an independent this season, but they've been helping out quite a bit. And again, you guys for putting on a great broadcast, and PRL for running a solid series here.
Well, we are more than happy to do it. Rob Campbell, congratulations again on a third place.
Thank you.
All right, that was Rob Campbell, your third place finisher here today, Joe.
We've got second with us, Devin Horvath, the man still leading the championship, and yet by a wider margin now somehow, even though he didn't win. I guess you can't win them all. You didn't get number 5 quite yet, Devin, but the positives are what I would just said. I mean, do you exit this one optimistic, knowing that you extended that 26-point gap?
Yeah, that was a game plan, just to stay ahead of Poblano. And if he was behind me and Drew was ahead of me, that's kind of what it was going to look like in practice, as he was a little bit faster than me. So I was happy coming in at second, but props to Drew. He had a lot of pace tonight, and even if I wanted to, I was going to catch him. So.
Well, it looked like lap traffic certainly was its own annoyance here tonight. I didn't see anything too untoward, but what was it like trying to get by some of the slower cars? It was a pretty big field for what's a short lap around here.
I didn't have many issues. Everybody was really good. I was pretty much passing single cars at a time, so they weren't fighting with each other like if there was 2 cars there, so I didn't have many issues.
Well, that's good to hear, especially in a series like this where the drivers value good sportsmanship so much. Glad that everybody's playing nice. But is it from here on out when we head off to Brands Hatch and then the last round after that one, just kind of managing the points? Are you going to points race, or are you going to try and still take wins?
No, I'm just going to manage the points, and because at the start of the season, the goal is always to win the championship, and I'm in a good spot right now to win it. So I'm just going to focus on that, focus on myself and what I can control. And hopefully we don't run into any issues the last couple of races.
All right. Well, I mean, we'll cross our fingers for you. Again, congratulations on another podium of many this season, and we look forward to seeing you next time out.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
That was Devin Horvath, your second place finisher in the number 32. And real quick, I believe DJ might be able to shed some light on the mystery of what happened to Corey Precker.
Yeah, Corey, a great qualifying run out there for you, and it just looked like you were lacking for race pace today. What was going on, my friend?
I don't know. I had a lot of qualified pace. Really proud of my qualifying lap, but I just did not have the race pace today. Lacked pace. I could have probably maybe stayed out a little bit longer, held everyone up, because it seemed like I had a large queue behind me, but it just didn't seem to go my way today.
Well, I mean, recovering from that and being able to move on a little bit from it, setting your sights to Brands Hatch next week, do you think it's going to be a little bit better there for you?
I hope so. I think just get my race pace up and just practice a lot this week, and try to go move on from this race and onto Brands Hatch.
Well, on to Brands Hatch indeed, but anybody you'd like to thank for the run today?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all my fans for coming out and enjoying the stream. I'd like to, the broadcast, and then I would like to thank all my teammates, Devin, Ethan, and Brian, being good teammates, and thank you to Yellow Stripe Motorsports as well.
Well, thank you, Corey, and we'll see you next time out.
Thank you.
All right, that was Corey Precker. Joe?
That's going to wrap us up. So a big thank you to the sponsors before we head out. Of course, ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. As well as ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here, and additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out our Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. And make sure and check out our merchandise store. It's gsrc.storenv.com, and there's a link in the description below for that. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because, as we mentioned, next time Interlagos, and we do Brands Hatch again, but with the GT3s, Monday, May 16th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar, because in just a few minutes' time, the Porsche Owners Club is going to Circuit of the Americas here at 11 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.